Hello Jedar. In this screencast, I'm going to give you feedback to last week's summary. So let's start. First sentence in the short video titled, good idea to include the title, the name of the speaker, very good. Reporting verb, it's a good reporting verb. Argues that our current way of thinking about racial and other lines of difference is what he says, I think. Other line difference issues in the country is seriously inadequate and it's incomplete. Sure. You want to use a little bit more of your own wording here. Remember, we're also trying to, in summarizing, we're also trying to avoid plagiarism. So you do want to avoid repeating his exact phrasing. Racial and other lines of difference and so forth, right? But this is indeed the main idea. Our thinking about it is inadequate. Okay, that's one thing. If you want to, you can expand and add the recommendations he gives at the end, right? And the recommendations are that there's all these things we need to do to fix the problem. So you can add that to the main idea. But if you decide to add that, then clearly you will need to look out for the word count. So the sentence should not be too long. Remember, it has to be argumentative, and you've done a good job of expressing it argumentatively, but it should also be concise. So rephrase it using your own words and maybe add the idea that, and also recommends that we should take necessary steps to address the problem or something like that, right? But the rest is good. You have actually included everything. Just use your own wording, okay? Implicit biases, it's better to use the plural here. Implicit biases have three characteristics. The first one is, this comma does not do a very good job of combining the two clauses. If you want to continue with one of the characteristics, as you've done here in the same sentence, you probably want to use a relative clause. It has three characteristics. The first of which is that it is the fact that we operate, maybe something like that, but it's getting a bit clumsy. So you can just say Hockett mentions three characteristics of implicit biases, full stop. And then first, they operate on a subconscious level. Second, they run contrary. Okay, so that's good that you've done that with the second and the third reason. That's much clearer, right? So I would say separate sentences. Secondly, they run contrary to our conscious beliefs, comma, that oftentimes unconsciously our behaviors are okay. I'm not sure what the comma and the that is doing here. They run contrary to our conscious beliefs. Maybe a conjunction, and oftentimes our behaviors are inconsistent with our internal beliefs. You are trying to paraphrase what he said, which is a good idea, but it's a little bit unclear here. All right? He says that our biases are often contrary to our conscious beliefs. Something like that, maybe. Which you've said here. That often, it just confuses it here. You see, they run. he says they run counter to our conscious beliefs. I think you're better off just paraphrasing the whole thing, right? Because what you've done is you're using his wording and then you try to explain with comma that. I think you're much better off just paraphrasing the whole thing. Just kind of forget about the video. Think now, what does he say? What is the second characteristic? And just describe it in your own words, right? So, rephrase this. What is he saying? We think we consciously embrace inclusion and diversity, but really, unconsciously, there are all these biases that are contrary to our stated beliefs, right? Something like that. Thirdly, rapid and automatic mental associations shape and mold behavior every day. Yeah, he does say that they are rapid and automatic associations. Implicit biases are, that's probably better to say that they are rapid and automatic mental associations which shape our behavior every day. Okay, good. Now here, with this cohesive device, is a little bit informal, so you could use the name of the speaker, Hockett, or the speaker, right? So this is a little informal. Hockett goes on to mention three reasons to avoid implicit bias. These are more like recommendations that he offers. He does call them reasons, but really they are a call to action. They're recommendations. These are the things that we can do to avoid or to solve the problem of implicit biases. First of all, okay, it can expand the diagnosis of the problem. What is it here? I mean, are you referring to bias? Then it becomes a little bit confusing. He does talk about expanding the diagnosis, but again, remember, there's no need to repeat the wording of the speaker. Try to say it in your own words, so you can avoid plagiarism that way as well. So the first recommendation Hockett offers, blah blah blah, right? And what is it? We need to develop an awareness of the problem. We need to diagnose the problem of biases, become aware of it, and only then can we start to address the issue. Something like that, right? So the referent is not very clear here. It refers to what? Okay. Secondly, implicit bias is predictive. It's not that the bias is predictive. He does mention predictive and preventive, and again, you do not need to repeat the phrasing. You can just rephrase it in your own words. He does mention predictive and preventive behavior. I like this clause, which can help people reduce the vulnerability. That's a very good relative clause. But here it's confusing when you say that the bias is predictive. I think he was talking about we need to be predictive and preventive in our approach to biases. So we need to be able to predict, am I going to feel prejudice or bias against that person? You need to analyze ourselves first and then act on our biases. Try to tackle that. Try to tackle our biases. Try to remove them. So that's what he means by predictive and preventive. But he's not saying that bias is preventive. He's saying we should engage in preventive behavior toward biases, right? So he can make that a little bit more clear. Okay. which can help people. That is a very good relative clause. Lastly, it will reduce the shame. What is it again? Is it biases? It will reduce the shame associated with talking about and addressing issues of bias. By this way, okay, up to here, that's fine. Again, what does it refer to? He did mention reducing shame, but if you wanted to avoid his phrasing, you can just say that we need to openly discuss our own biases without shame, something like that, right? Because once we engage in open discussion, then we can start fixing the problem. So I can understand this here. By this way, people will feel motivated to make changes where they need to do. Okay. First of all, the comma cannot connect these two clauses. So this is a comma splice. Basically, what that means is you cannot connect these two clauses by just a comma. You need something else. Maybe a relative clause or something like that. Maybe a new sentence would be better. So again, instead of reducing shame, which is exactly the phrase that he used, you can use your own phrasing, right? Use your own phrasing. You know, something about how we need to openly to engage in open, honest discussion about the problem of biases, and only then can we start addressing that issue, right? Okay. To conclude, it is important to think that how we can align our actions and behaviors with our consciously held. Again, this is his wording repeated verbatim, the same exact words that he used. You want to paraphrase that because you do want to avoid plagiarism. So just use your own words. He ends with a recommendation, which is a call to action. We need to get serious about our biases. We need to examine ourselves first. We need to start from the inside, examine our own biases, and start fixing the problem. You know, something like that. You could end like that. Overall, the structure is good here. You've used plenty of cohesive devices, reporting verbs. You could mention the speaker a little bit more. Hockett argues. Additionally, furthermore, Hockett claims. The speaker presents. So instead of "so there are 3 reasons," you could say the speaker goes on to discuss 3 recommendations, or speaker offers 3, you know, something like that, offers 3 recommendations. And yeah, I could use that a little bit more, but overall it's quite a coherent paragraph here you have. Good structure. You basically have included the supporting ideas, so you've done the important things. Just work on these, on phrasing, and try to avoid repeating the words of the speaker. Just try to process it and use your own words. Okay, but overall, well structured paragraph. Okay, I hope this is helpful, Jedar. Good luck.